1971, Ryan Wayne White was born to Jeannie and Hubert White in Kokomo, Indiana. Shortly after his birth, doctors discovered he had a rare disease called hemophilia. Hemophilia is a disease of the blood that prevents the blood from clotting and can lead to pain and swelling when the blood accumulates in the body. Ryan was in and out of the hospital as a child, and his hemophilia was treated by Factor VIII. Factor VIII is a treatment that helps a hemophiliac's blood clot normally. His mother, Jeannie, wanted Ryan to live like a normal kid. He was allowed to play Little League Baseball. He enjoyed playing with other kids, including his sister Andrea, and fishing with his grandpa. He also enjoyed skateboarding around his neighborhood. Ryan would be seen riding his bicycle around, and later he even got a paper route. Two of his hobbies were collecting Matchbox cars and comic books. He turned his interest in Matchbox cars into real cars and knew a lot about them. In 1984, when he was 13, Ryan came down with a rare case of pneumonia and was admitted to Riley Hospital in Indianapolis. He had to have partial lung removal procedure. Blood tests at the hospital showed that Ryan had AIDS. AIDS stands for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. At the time, it was a new disease that nobody knew much about. It seemed that only gay men and drug users got AIDS. There was no cure, and it was thought to be a death sentence. Ryan got AIDS from a contaminated batch of Factor VIII that was infected with the HIV virus. Instead of being scared to die, Ryan decided that he just wanted to continue his everyday life. He wanted to play with his friends, spend time with his family, and go back to school. In early 1985, Ryan began to feel better and was ready to go back to school. But when he tried to go back, he was denied by Western School Corporation Superintendent James Smith, starting a legal battle that would last almost a year. In August 1985, the Whites and their lawyer filed a lawsuit that was quickly dismissed. They were told to appeal to the Indiana Department of Education. During this time, the school offered to have a special phone-computer connection set up. Ryan tried it, but it was horrible. In February 1986, the Department of Education ruled that Ryan could go back to school if given clearance from the Howard County Health Officer. Dr. Alan Adler said Ryan was fit enough to go back to school. On February 21, 1986, Ryan went back to school, but only for a half day. Some parents of Western school children continued to appeal until all arguments were dismissed in July 1986. Nearly everywhere he went in Kokomo, Ryan and his family were teased and tormented. His story had become national news. The media was all around him, and the Whites decided that they wanted to speak out and try to make life better for everyone with AIDS. Ryan had finally won his right to education, but he became too ill to go back to school that fall. He was in and out of the hospital through early 1987. One day, someone shot a bullet through the Whites' living room window, and they knew it was time to leave Kokomo. In May 1987, they moved to Cicero, Indiana, and Ryan is well enough to start school that fall at Hamilton Heights High School. Life in Cicero was completely different for Ryan and his family. The Hamilton Heights principal, along with student body president Jill Stewart, had worked to educate the school and the community about AIDS. The AIDS education worked, and they opened the doors for him. Ryan had started on a new drug called AZT, and his health had improved. Ryan began traveling all over the country to spread his message about AIDS education and healthcare. Ryan and Jill Stewart testified before the Presidential Commission on AIDS in March 1988. ABC Television made a movie about him called The Ryan White Story. Ryan got to play the role of another AIDS patient in the movie. Ryan wrote his autobiography titled Ryan White, My Own Story. The whole world was hearing Ryan's message on AIDS. Celebrities, athletes, and politicians joined Ryan's cause. Michael Jackson, a famous singer, called one day and invited Ryan to visit his ranch in Los Angeles. They became friends and had many meetings. Michael gave Ryan his favorite car, a red Mustang, as a gift. One of Ryan's favorite athletes that he got to meet was Greg Louganis, the Olympic diver. Another famous singer, Elton John, became one of the family's closest friends, and he often visited them. Eventually, Ryan got very sick again. In March 1990, Ryan had to be hospitalized. His doctor told him the only way he might survive was to be hooked up to a ventilator. He was put under anesthesia, and Ryan and his mother knew that he might never wake up. On April 8, 1990, surrounded by his family and friends, Ryan White died at 7:11 a.m. Ryan was only 18 years old. Andrea gave him a long hug, and his mother kissed him. Ryan White's funeral was held on April 11, 1990. over 1,500 people came to pay their respects. Michael Jackson, Elton John, and many other celebrity friends were there. Elton played a song called Skyline Pigeon. Now, almost 25 years later, Ryan's legacy continues with Fort Wayne Youth Theater's production, The Kid from Kokomo, The Ryan White Story. Fort Wayne Youth Theater chose to produce this show as part of their 80th anniversary celebration. Local playwright Gregory Stieber wrote and directed the show, along with over 30 local children and adult actors. I was lucky enough to be part of the cast for this meaningful production. It debuted sold-out crowds in Fort Wayne in early February 2015. The following are excerpts of interviews that I conducted with Gregory Stieber and co-stars Anthony Hayes and Sharon Nelson.
When I saw the play come together, after I researched it for a while, and then I wrote it I worked on it for about 3 months. There was nothing more exciting than that first night of the read-through, when the entire ensemble was there. And it wasn't the usual youth theater show where we played around a lot and laughed a lot. We came and we went immediately to work on it, because we knew it was a very important story to be told about a real little boy who lived in Indiana, who really went through a hard time, but by being brave and battling through, he persevered, and he kind of changed history in terms of that time and what was happening with people's knowledge about AIDS. So it was an incredibly exciting experience to bring it to life, and that was all about the actors. So it was amazing.
To play the role of Ryan White, to me, felt good. That's the word I'm going to use. I felt honored to be a part of this entire project, teaching other people what had happened. I felt proud of the rest of the cast too, because they played amazing parts and they did an amazing job. They also helped me and the adult cast and Greg get the story out there about Ryan White and what he did for this nation.
Playing this role actually escalated my feelings, and knowing what she actually went through in real life. I hurt for her, but she was a tough woman, and so I was proud to play her. It was quite a challenge, to try to present to people what she was going through and her feelings as well as Ryan's.
People of your generation should know who Ryan White is. He was from our state, but even if he wasn't from our state, kids around the world should know who he was, because for one simple reason, he changed the world. He wanted to go to school. Because of that desire to go to school, in his fight to do that, he woke the entire nation up to the fact that the AIDS crisis wasn't just relegated to a certain part of the country. It was right in the heart of our country, and it could happen to a 13-year-old boy. And by just him being brave and sticking by his convictions, he changed the world, and in turn ended up saving thousands of people's lives by calling such attention to the crisis.
But it's not just the AIDS. I think it's important message that he brings forth as far as bullying goes too. His family had endured a lot of bullying in those days. It's important to keep it going and help others from going through what he went through.
Ryan White saved a lot of people. He saved a lot of lives by doing what he did, because he could have just stayed home, done nothing, but instead he fought for school and he got the right to go back, and by doing that, by standing up, he showed the world that AIDS isn't as dangerous as we thought it was. Doctors and scientists and other people saw that the disease wasn't as bad as we thought. They were just like, oh, well, maybe we can give him a chance. They looked at the disease more, they studied it more. By him fighting for school, he basically fought for the cure for this disease.
Ryan White's legacy lives on every day through the Ryan White Cure Act that funds services for over 500,000 people with HIV and AIDS every year. The hundreds of scholarships, awards, and organizations that are named for Ryan White, and the thousands of people not dying from AIDS but living with AIDS. Ryan White was and always will be a candle in the wind.